Welcome to investingnews.com. We're speaking with Adam Woolridge from Cobre Ltd. Welcome, Adam.
Thanks, John. Great to be here.
First up, the company recently delivered a maiden resource at Comet. How does this demonstrate the viability of the project?
Yeah, look, John, this is another important milestone for us. This is pretty much taking us further on our In-Situ Copper Recovery journey on this Ngami project. A couple of really important points around the MRE. First one is we've only taken a small portion of the total exploration target into category. This MRE focuses on our Comet deposit alone, so there's still plenty of upside potential from the exploration target on the project as well. A lot has come out of the MRE, and I think it really relates to, for instance, when you start looking at this as an in-situ copper recovery process, you have really good grade continuity, and this has been reflected in the MRE, and it's also come out from just looking at this deposit from a geometry point of view. It's got a really simple geometry, a lot of grade continuity, and it's been relatively cost effective to actually move each ton of contained copper into category. You know, we're looking at just over $70 a ton of exploration costs, which is pretty much on the lower end of the exploration costs for most copper projects globally. Probably the most important aspect of this has been being able to quote some of the OPEX numbers associated with this project. Now, these OPEX numbers have been based around a full production in-situ copper recovery operation, and they really come out right on the bottom of the global cost curve. You know, we'd be looking at OPEX numbers in the order of $1 a pound copper, which produces some extraordinary economics. And I think it's just important to remember that those OPEX numbers are based on a relatively low recovery. We used an estimate of only 36% copper recovery in the OPEX numbers, whereas our recent batch of metallurgical tests have demonstrated we can get significantly higher recoveries in situ. You know, those are also based on the hydrology work that we've done over the course of the last year or two. So they're pretty well substantiated numbers. And I think that really speaks to the economics of the project.
Therefore, Adam, with all this data received, could you outline for investors the deposit's expansion potential?
Yeah, absolutely. So look, just to put the numbers down, you know, this MRE really had the Comet deposit alone, and we're looking at 11.5 million tons at 0.52% copper and about another 12 grams per ton silver. We do get the silver out as well in the process, but you're looking at an exploration target of 200 to 300 million tons at around 0.4% copper, and that exploration target's very well grounded. You know, there's a lot of drilling that's gone into the exploration target as well. Now, when you start looking at that size, you get a really good comp to, for example, Florence Copper, which goes into production later this year. That's an in-situ operation in Arizona owned by Taseko Mines. You're looking at $1 billion market cap company. And here you have a similar sort of size and scale to what we could have on our project as well if we bring the exploration target into category. So enormous upside here. And then just from an exploration point of view, there's a whole additional anticline to the north that we haven't even started exploring on.
From these exploration indications, could you expand a bit further how it could compare to other copper projects?
Yeah, so look again, our real focus now will be looking at trying to bring more of this exploration target into category. We've proven we can do this cost effectively, and you know, I think we can just really sort of focus on copper as the best comp for where we'd want to go. I think just from a comparative, our hydrology is a bit different to theirs. You know, ours is probably a much simpler system. It's just a long linear sort of horizon that we'd be targeting rather than a more 3D volume. So your design and production would be slightly different, but I think the size, metrics, OPEX, recovery, etc., are really the numbers you should be looking at when viewing this project.
And for those not familiar with the region, what's it like mining or exploring in Botswana?
Look, I think Botswana's been the darling of Africa for quite a while. It's always been regarded as a mining-friendly jurisdiction. We always see it coming out on top of the Fraser Index in Africa for mining attractiveness. But, the real good metrics are just to, look at how quickly, for example, Sandfire brought Matea, their hub, into production. And that was done in record time. It was, I think, 4 years from scoping to development. And that just demonstrates the kind of support you can expect from the Botswana government. And we've certainly seen this as well. The corruption is really low in Botswana. We've not experienced any corruption so far. We see a lot of transparency in the cadastre system. The ministry is really approachable, really supportive. We've certainly enjoyed our time working there, and it's been quite a while now.
I guess next up, Adam, what is your outlook for the copper market in the medium term?
Sure. Look, I think I'm pretty much in the standard with that one. I certainly see elevated copper prices continuing into the medium term, and then we'd certainly remain bullish on the long term as well.
Well, investors always want to know what the next key catalyst coming up. What news flow do you have heading towards the end of the year?
Yeah. Look, John, I think for us, it's probably important just to, step back a little with the company. We're not just focused on our development opportunity. It's obviously a key part of our total portfolio. But we've got a huge ground holding in Botswana. We're looking at over 5,000 square kilometers. And we've taken the approach of dividing this up into very distinct strategies. So the neighboring projects to Ngami are base margin projects. We have a $25 million earning with BHP. They are partners on that project. And we're actively drilling that at the moment. So we've got a big drill program running on our Katlania projects with BHP. We're also collecting more seismic data there, so there's going to be a lot of news flow coming out of those results as we work our way to the end of those programs. We've also got our Kavango project, which is becoming more and more strategic. That's along strike from MMG's Kumekau operation on the other side of the belt, and we'll have some news flow coming out of that towards the end of the year as well. We've got a few plans for that project too. And then, if you focus on Ngami, obviously we want to move this further along the development pathway. We started our environmental impact assessment a couple of weeks ago, and that's expected to take around 9 months to complete. But once we have the environmental impact assessment completed, it puts us in a position to build a pilot study, and the pilot study will then really allow us to actually prove the method in situ. All the capital that goes into the pilot study we can then use as a startup plant. So, it's a great way to sort of stage gate your development on this project. But at the same time as the pilot study, we've got a little bit more metallurgical test work going on, and we've also got more hydrological test work going on. So we're continually de-risking the in-situ development pathway for ourselves. Having the permit in place it will be a huge step forward as well. That basically puts us in a position where we can start moving towards feasibility as well, post the pilot study. So we're on a really interesting pathway, and I think treat the company as three separate endeavors, if you like. You've got the big scale potential discovery with BHP. You've got strategic drilling and potential upside on our Kavango project, and then you've got a really interesting development story at Ngami that we're continuing to de-risk in stages and try to do as in the best, most effective and capital light way we can.
Thanks very much, Adam, for providing a deep dive on Cobre Ltd today. We look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Great, John. Thanks very much.
And thank you for joining us at investingnews.com. We'll see you next time.